And so we greet you tonight in the name of all that is good, all that is holy, and all that is sacred, and in the warm and loving energy of this ministry, Spiritual Life Center. If you are with us for the very first time tonight, we especially want to welcome you because we know that you are not here by accident. We are all here by divine appointment, and we're absolutely thrilled to see all of you with us tonight. And Avenel is one of our chaplains, and she's going to lead us in our opening prayer.
So if you're so inclined, can you bow your head and close your eyes? Divine Mother, Father God, we step into this present moment together, this holy moment, and we breathe in and out. And we know that love has descended upon each one of us here, and we are connected, holding hands in spirit. We reach out our hands and know that they go and extend to the world who needs our love. And we say, thank you, God. Amen.
Thank you, Avenel. The chaplains have a healing circle right next door, right after the service, so you can take the wonderful energy that Catherine brings to us and just take it right into the healing circle. And on Sunday, May 27th, Reverend Dr. Stu Bittman from South Tahoe's Unity at the Lake will be our guest speaker. He comes recommended by several of our congregation. He will offer a Sunday talk accompanied by heart-centered meditation with Sherry Rain. And we're going to have some all-out live music with Michael Rogers and an afternoon workshop titled Living from the Heart. It's how to use heart math and other practices to help us live more deeply in heart-centered space. And registration for that workshop is open now. I think you can sign up online. All right, the All That Jazz Mystic Cafe is sold out. Oh, darn. However, we have a raffle coming up, so stay tuned for details. We'll have more details within a few days. And next week, how many people were here for Reverend James' first part of the spiritual journey? So we have a series called Talk the Walk, and it's about talking about a person's spiritual journey in life. And James was just getting to the really interesting part, and we ran out of time. So he's coming back next week and is going to realize that she had so much to offer. There was no way she was going to do it done in one night. She tried, but there's just so much. So Catherine has broken this down into 4 different categories, and tonight is the first of her 4-part series. Catherine Mandela is an environmental scientist, an environmental educator, and a musician. She has developed the study of the interrelationships between music and the natural world and named it ecomusicology and
stage fright? Apparently, because the other day I didn't touch it. The other day, it's like the story I'm about to tell. The other day we had this Jade in her house, and our dogs were over, and they were taking a nap on the floor, and we were testing it with the flute, and it was very, very chatty. And then we thought, okay, well, let's test it. Let's say it's ugly and stupid. And we told the plant, we apologize, that we don't mean it. But anyway, we started saying, you're ugly, you're stupid. And the dogs freaked out and got in between us and the plant. And, Zeph stuck his face in my face, and Kaya, my dog, stuck her butt in Paula's face, and we had to stop the experiment. So thank you, Jade. We're going to move on with the rest of the evening. And now it's probably got all kinds of things to say. Yeah. See?
Does it respond to your music?
It does, and it responds to thought, and its own mood it's in. Like I said earlier, we had several different orchids that we tried, and it didn't respond. It was just kind of, didn't say a whole lot. And then this morning, I brought this over to prepare for tonight, and it was super chatty. We were talking, I was with Elaine, and we were hooking it up, and it had all kinds of things to say.
What it would do if your mother touched it.
Oh, I see what happened. You have to turn it all the way back to the, anyway. So, you remember I told you many of them are both. So that theory is out the window. So, yeah. Where's my, yes.
I was wondering, can you use this technology to kind of diagnose how a plant's feeling? In other words, I've had plants like we all have, where it has symptoms, and you look it up, it's either too much water, not enough water, too much light, not enough light.
Well, you have to, if you can ask it, and this is all stuff I'll get into at the end. So let me get flowing here, and then we'll have the Q&A at the end. And so what I'd like to do we have the... Yes. So you heard a little, me in a little bit of a nutshell. There's a lot more to it, but you don't need to hear that. But what I have learned through dealing, through teaching and learning about the natural world and ecology and just the musical relationship with it, I've found all this correlation between music and ecology. And so I created this program, which we're going to start in a minute. Do I have to do something?
Is the remote on?
Got turned off? See, the funny thing is, this is all a lesson for us to tell us that we had all, these are all externalizations of ourselves, that if we didn't have all this electronic gadgetry, we'd be able to do it ourselves. It's on. Yeah. There we go. So the secret life of plants. So what I have right here is a little explanation of ecomusicology, breaking it down. A lot of people don't realize I actually have a degree in languages too. I can speak Spanish and Italian, and this isn't working, but I saw the interesting correlations between words. And so if you break down ecomusicology, ecos comes from the Greek word oikos, which means hearth or home. And music actually comes from the Greek word musis, which means of or from the animal's mouth. And then obviously ology is the study of. But if you break it down even more to the next one, the animal is actually from the Latin word anima, which means soul. And soul means life. Life means to have breath and pulse, which means it vibrates. So go ahead and change it to the next one. There is an old documentary and a book called The Secret Life of Plants that inspired me to kind of name this program that. But has anybody ever seen it or heard it? It's really old, and I took a little excerpt from it. I suggest reading the book, too, because it goes into a lot more detail, as usual. But go ahead and play it. I'm going to...
Artist John Lifton devised what he calls green music. Plants have been wired into a complex computer Their change of mood as they react to the crowds of visitors will be converted into musical expression.
I'll take that other electrode, please. Okay, Richard.
As the people move among the plants, the sounds they hear are the plants reacting to their presence. An ephemeral exchange of energy, linking two diverse life forms, becomes a symphony of emotions.
Come on now, look at the fern. It's right over there. Now be careful, be very careful. Just don't rip it.
The 70s technology and hairdos. It works now, good. So I had this theory because having traveled a lot and lived in other countries and being fortunate to live in a very ethnically diverse city, I've learned a lot of music from different parts of the world, and it made me think, well, why do people, different cultures have different sounding scales? You've got your do, re, mi, fa, so, Western scale, and then you go, east, and there's all these notes in between the notes. And I thought, well, if it's connected to the earth, it must have some kind of correlation between what it sounds like where it grows and how the earth is vibrating at the location that it's from. So I kind of researched it and found a few things that kind of supported my theory. This is an olive tree. That's actually, olives are from Greece and Turkey, so that in between west and east sound, and this is what it sounds like. So that's what, and I'll give you one other example. So lucky bamboo comes from, a lot of Southeast Asian and also China. But from what I've learned about Chinese music, when they compose a piece, they're very into that yin-yang thing. If you listen to classical, traditional Chinese music, you'll hear like the phrase will, one phrase will end on a high note and then the next phrase will end on a low note, that whole yin-yang thing. And this lucky bamboo, so now what I'm going to do, we're going to play a little Name That Tune. However, you're going to have to name, I'm going to play some instruments, and you're going to close your eyes, no cheatsies like I always say, and see if you can imagine the type of habitat it is from, and add the continent at least in there too. So close your eyes, and I'm going to pick an instrument. Very Andean, yes. You can open your eyes now. This flute right here is called a quena, and it is from the Andes. So you'll see a lot of, Ecuador, Bolivia, Peru, they'll play an instrument like this. And it is actually made from a type of bamboo that grows, there's cane and bamboo that grow all along the Pacific coastline from from Alaska, well, not Alaska, but actually Oregon down to that part of the world. Not all the way to Patagonia. Okay, close your eyes. I'm going to do another one. Okay, you can. Believe it or not, it's Hawaiian. This is called an anu ihu ipu. It means bamboo, nose, and breath. So this is actually a nose flute. You play with your nose. I'll show you so you can see what it looks like. I know who wasn't cheating because they're like, oh, is that how? Yeah. Usually people go, ew. Definitely don't want it when you got a cold. So the reason why it's played through the nose is because, nasty things come out of the mouth, bad words, that kind of thing. So when you play it, the air that's coming out of your nose is its purest. So that's the reason. And there actually is a difference between male and female ano ipu inus, is that when you see a 3-hold one, that's for women to play. If it's got a 4th hole, it's because the men don't have the ability to create, so they needed that extra help. Okay, ready? You want some more? Okay, close your eyes. Where do you think that came from? Asia. Yeah, Indonesian. And what kind of habitat? Jungle. Oh, sorry. Bamboo, a jungle. You're all right. It's actually Vietnamese, and actually both of these instruments. This percussion instrument is actually teak, but this Vietnamese bamboo xylophone is made from bamboo, and there's a lot of most of the species of over the 50 species of bamboo there are in the world. Most of them grow in Southeast Asia, and there's actually one that grows so fast you can see it grow. It grows like 91 centimeters in a day. So you can imagine pretty much everything they do and make and eat has something to do with bamboo. In fact, probably a lot of the floors in some of our houses are from there. A little hint, more sustainable resource there. Okay, how about some more? We'll close your eyes some more. Okay, let's see, what shall I do this time? Okay. You guys can answer it because I know you know. Africa? Arabic, yes. It's actually, its name is Nay or Nai, depending on who you're talking to in the Arabish, it's the Arabic form of the flute. And Nay just means reed. And I just learned something. I've been, huh? Nai, yeah. Persia, but it's played actually, I didn't bring mine, I can't play. They actually, their Nay, this, if you can see that distance, there's actually 6 holes in the front and 1 thumb hole in the back. The Persian one only has 5 in the front. And they actually play it differently. They'll either knock out a tooth or like file a tooth down, stick it up there and play. So I'm not gonna bother with that one. Yeah. Yeah, but I learned an interesting thing from some friends of mine. I'm playing with an Egyptian group, and one of them was telling me that he had been told that the nai, sounds sad because it is sad, because it always wants to go back from the plant it was cut off from. And I know it's kind of hard to hear this now when you hear it, but. But you know what I found kind of interesting in my experimenting with the MIDI sprout is that it won't, like I've hooked it up to a lot of different things, and I'm not going to tell you everything yet because you're going to have to come to the other programs to find it out. But like, for example, a coffee mug, it wouldn't do anything. And I was kind of curious, well, what would it do if I hooked it up to my flutes? There would. They didn't sing. And then I tried like a stick that fell off my tree. It wasn't attached to the tree anymore. It wouldn't sing. But if I touched the tree with it, it would sing. So maybe this theory, maybe what, he had heard was correct. So maybe that's up to the flute player to bring that life back into it. In fact, since I said that, kind of interestingly, I have a, well, it's a tin whistle, however, today. It's made partially of plastic. And I thought, okay, plastic isn't going to make any sound, but I hooked it up and I let it go and it went, and that's it. It had like a little bit of life in it because I play this flute a lot. So maybe, you know, I've even heard there are sources that will say that even a chair has consciousness. So shall we do, how are we on time? Because I know I've got all kinds of stuff to cover. 7:30. So how about let's do a few more. Go ahead and close your eyes. I'll leave it at that. What do you think that? Well, you know, it's kind of interesting thing that it's Japanese. This is a shakuhachi, and it is made of bamboo. But in history that I've learned, there's, you know, most of the history we probably know is probably a lot of the edited or lied to version of history. But a lot of people don't realize that, well, in a nutshell, around 4000 BC, there was another warming period, and the sea levels rose, so all that land between China, Japan, and Korea filled in, so all those people dispersed, and a lot of Japanese ended up along the Pacific coastline, all the way as far down as Mexico. So I have a theory, if you look at a lot of instruments, remember I was talking about the quena, which is from the Andes? The way it's played is very similar, and you know, like even constructed, is very similar to the way the shakuhachi is played. In fact, I bet a lot of, something I learned that the Zuni tribe in the Four Corners area, they actually used them during World War II to translate for Japanese POWs because there was enough words still similar that they were able to communicate with them. Okay, shall we do? Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, let's do another one. This one might be easy. All right, what was that one? This is not what it normally looks like. This is my little one that got left in the sun too long. My travel one. This one's actually, I think, made from a guy in Thailand. However, the didgeridoo, it's not really unique to Australia. There's like maybe 5 different peoples that I am aware of that have a didgeridoo type instrument that some of them sound exactly the same and some of them are played similarly, and they all have the same basic purpose, which is to communicate or also to learn from the natural world. Didgeridoos, in the case of Australian Aborigines, they're used for, you know, I can go on and on about just didgeridoos. I didn't bring my other one because I was bringing too much, but generally they're eucalyptus branch that are hollowed out by termites. But if you go through the northern part of Australia, there is 2 species of bamboo that grow there, and so the northern tribes had used bamboo. You heard me, some of you were at the Earth Day one, I had played my bamboo one, you may have seen the other one. But there's the molimo, which the Pygmy and the Congo also play, and they have actually something called the Molimo Festival, which is, they actually get a branch from a tree, but they don't have termites to hollow them out there, so they have to get coals to burn through through the center of the stick, and it's a real arduous, laborious event, so it only gets taken out during special purposes, and only initiated people get to see it. So it's to celebrate the forest, because they consider the forest their parents, because they give them all the things that they need to survive. So actually, you know what, I'll just go ahead and play this one. Does anybody know where this one comes from? Everybody, almost everybody has one of these. But a lot of people, yeah, they're not aware that it's from South America, and it's a cactus. And they actually took out the spines, got the seeds out from the buds, and put the spines back inside through there to create the little dingle-dangles. Yeah. So shall we do one more? Okay. All right. Are the eyes closed? I don't see any little eyeballs looking at me. Well, there's a lot of, I didn't bring bagpipes. That would have been a fun one. So this, actually, let me show it to you. It's called a sipsi, sometimes a midwiz, but it's very common. The Turkish play it a lot. And the Turkish, in Turkey, they have a reed that grows small like this. And so they'll actually get this reed, another littler one, and kind of slice it and put it on to make the little buzz sound. I know, yeah, everybody, you can play your twizzle stick. I mean, that's what it looks like, is a twizzle stick. But interestingly, you'll find this is kind of the predecessor to bagpipes. Does anybody know where bagpipes are from? Nope, they're actually from northern India. Huh? No, from the Caucasus area. And as people migrated, they brought the bagpipe all throughout northern Africa. The gypsies helped spread this too, all throughout northern Africa and Europe. So most northern African countries and every European country has their own kind of bagpipe. So the Scottish have actually a couple. There's shuttle pipes, shepherd small pipes. Of course, the Highland pipes, they were created to scare the Romans away. And then, but you've got the gaita in Spain, the zamora in Italy, mostly in southern Italy they play that. And Germany's got one, the English have the French, every European country has one. And they actually, if you look at what they're playing, sometimes it's just one chanter and sometimes it's two. And if you look at the older ones, it's basically two of these stuck up in a goat, pretty much. That was the original bag before the was it Gore-Tex nowadays? But so that's how it initiated. Why they stuck? I don't know. My theory was that somebody was smoking too much and they couldn't play the flute anymore, so they stuck it on a bag. So they would, a lot of that part of the world eats goats. So after they were done with they gutted it. They didn't slice it in half. It was still whole. So they basically cut the head off. So the head was tied off, the body was tied off, the chanter was stuck through one arm, and the blow pipe was stuck through the other.
So they turned the body into like a balloon?
Basically. So, I think, do we have time to do one more? We can do one more. We're still hiding. Okay, we can do one last one. How's that? This part's fun. Name that instrument, habitat. Iran doesn't have anything quite like this. You're seeing writing it? You can't see the writing. That'll give it away. Kind of looks similar like that. Actually, you can, go in and out. You know who the inventors of the accordion is? A lot of people think the Germans. Now, they actually did some cool perfecting of it. However, the Chinese came up with it. And the early idea of the accordion and now the harmonica, and they have another flute that you stick your fingers inside, and it's got all these pipes. It's from the Chinese. This is called a hulusi. And I don't know, there's some story behind it too. It actually has these two vibrating drones. They are designed to help conjure spirits, actually. The vibratory things where you hear, like we're so used to, get it in tune and get all that rattle out of the way. A lot of indigenous cultures around the world, they want the rattle there because it's helping evoke things. So that's the ulusi right here. Thanks for asking. So bamboo on the bottom, and then a gourd on the top, and it's got some double reeds inside as well. There's an overtone. There's two overtones, actually. You want to hear it again? Okay. Let me see if I can remember. Phrasing where it'll end on a low note and then the next one will end on a little yin-yang action. So, yeah. So, moving right along. I don't know if I have time for all of these, but maybe later. So we're going to move on to, I can't omit the ocean because 3/4 or over 3/4 of the planet is water, and 97% of that water is ocean water. And a lot of people think algae is actually, it's plants, but it's actually somewhere in between a plant and an animal. It's a protist. Though the ocean does have a lot of plant life as well. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be singing and playing flutes or anything. In fact, scientists realize that it's actually plants that regulate the Earth's hydrology, not the climate. And I haven't figured out a way how to attach a midi sprout to a piece of kelp, but I'm sure it would have something to say. Now, oops, I didn't mean to go there. So what I'd like to do is, one of the things that you've all probably heard of is how, plants, they love classical music and jazz, but they shrivel at heavy metal and hard rock, right? I have to admit, I agree with the plants. I usually, want to do that. However, and I always thought, okay, well, it's vibration, right? Well, I call it angry music. So I always, think, well, in fact, I think there's some acid classical too, and acid jazz for that matter. The composer, when you're composing music and singing, it's your soul speaking. So if you're coming out with some really harsh stuff, it makes me wonder what's going on in your head or your heart or wherever. So of that, all that classical stuff, of a lot of studies done, they found that Indian classical music was plants' favorite of all. And I thought, well, why would that be? And having known what I know, my theory was because of all the different scales through all the different cultures throughout the world, they hit every note. They have every frequency. They don't have da 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 da. They get everything in there. So my theory, I think, is correct. And I just so happen to have a friend that's a very accomplished classical Indian singer. She just happens to live in Sacramento, and she happens to agree to come and share her lovely gift with us right now. And she brought with her, well, I was trying to get her to bring her charapati plant. Charipati, yeah, because she's got a lot of plants that she grows for the herbs and stuff to put in her food. So there's a lot of love. And, when she told her mother, who's also here, that, Catherine's got this thing that makes plants sing. And she's like, see, I told you I've been, because she's been singing and kissing and hugging her plants forever. And, and Shaquila, my friend that I'm going to be inviting here in a minute, was always teasing her. And her husband as well. But anyway, I'd like to invite up to the stage Shaquila Ahmed. This one should be ready to go. Okay. And you can share anything you want.
Thank you. Where are you running off to?
Oh, I can stay over here.
Yes, I need you. No. I'll be... Well, let's get the grapefruit out of my face.
Yeah, do you want to
No,
share
just kidding.
something about it first while I get your grapefruit ready?
This is from my tree. which I planted about 3-4 years ago. And every one of my friends, each and every one of my friends said, ew, hate grapefruit, you know. And I've converted all of them because this is the most lovely, unbelievable fruit ever. Ancha.
And this tree is huge. She said she planted it 3 days ago. I mean, 3 days ago. 3 years ago. It's like, I mean,
That's a bit much.
You know, it's like really tall. And when I was over, you know, last.
I know my music has a lot of powers, but
It does. So
hey,
we were.
even that stretches the imagination a
Yeah,
bit.
we put up the midi sprout to the tree, to the grapefruit tree, and they started singing
Oh
the
my
same
God,
notes.
yes.
They started catching notes. Yeah. Microphone. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. Okay. She got. Okay. I'm not supposed to be talking. It's all about her right now.
So when Catherine came over with another one of her harebrained schemes, I said, okay, I always give her a patient hearing, and vice versa. I mean, I have a lot of weird stories to tell as well. But, but this totally appealed to me because this is where my heart lies. I absolutely believe in plant life, and that our whole universe, everything on the planet, especially plants, are so tuned to music, or we are in tune because of them. That's something I really believe. And actually, when Catherine was saying about, she doesn't know much about musical instruments from Iran, but so I just wanted to, you know, say a little bit about that, because in India, we've had a lot of influence of Persia. Like one of the most beautiful languages which I sing in is called Urdu, which is a mixture of Sanskrit, which is the ancient, you know, the what should I say, like the Latin of India, and Persian, which came obviously from Iran, from Farsi. And this is such a beautiful statement, I have to share it with you, that Sanskrit stands for art, and Farsi, Persian, stands for passion. So you can imagine a language which is a mix of art and passion, how it would sound. And that's Urdu. And I hope some of you will go back and listen to some Urdu music. Especially they're called ghazals, which are poetry or couplets, you know, like sonnets. And they're mostly spiritual in its message. And well, Catherine said that you must sing a few notes and we'll see how the plants react. So I told her, just don't make a fool of me on stage, you know. I'll be like singing away and my grapefruit just decides, not tonight, Josephine. So, like the jade.
Yeah, would you be able to share a rag with us? Which, if you can
Yes.
explain it, how there's rags that are done that are supposed to only be sung during certain kinds of times of day. For example, the morning rag or an evening rag, or a rag only during the full moon, or a rag only during a certain season. So, you want to give us an example?
Yes, but I have another problem, which is I go off on a tangent, and I didn't make the point I was going to make about musical instruments and Iran.
Oh, you must.
Yes. So a couple of the most important, or let's say most popular, and one of them is totally, you cannot do without it, you know, Indian music, is the tabla. Which is our version of a drum set, you know, the percussion instrument, which is used for classical music, for light music, for pop music, for everything. And that was invented by Hazrat Amir Khusro, who happened to be from Persia. And the other one is the sitar, which all of you know of, I'm sure, because the Beatles made sitar the most popular instrument all over the West. And Ravi Shankar, of course, all of you have heard of. And the sitar was also created by Hazrat Amir Khusro. And the second point that I wanted to make is, which is so amazing, because when Catherine was playing all these flutes, and we know that music comes from plants, because every instrument is from a plant. The sitar is made out of, the bass is a squash. And the tabla also is made of wood. So the relationship between music and plant is undeniable. So, okay, now this time of the Indian scales, ragas as we call them, rags, have all got their individual timings. And it is so because when you hear a certain scale, if you close your eyes, you will feel like it's that time of the day or early morning. It has a lot to do with that feeling as well. So it's kind of time, and it's not really wrong to sing some scales out of sync with the timing, because it's not always possible. But if we can, we try to maintain the time. This is the time for this raga, which is called Yaman. It is all major notes, and it's sung during sunset. I believe it's almost sunset outside, close to. And so the other thing that Catherine was saying, I know her fingers are itching to just hit on that and get on with it, Shakila. One small thing. I didn't want to, actually she told me, oh, you must speak and everything. And I said, I don't want to take away from the lecture or anything, But when she said about the difference, why maybe Indian classical music or our way of the notations have kind of get in tune in the same frequency, the vibrations with the plant, is probably because ours is a more melodic approach, and we sing the vibrations or frequencies between two notes. And Western music is mostly harmonic, so it goes from one note to the other without too much of you do have the wave as well.
Jazz.
Yes, jazz and the blues scale, which I love. So I'm just going to pick a note from...
You can give an example, and then I'll put the grapefruit after.
Sa ni re ga re, ni re re sa, ni re ga ma ga re ni da ga re sa, ni re ga ma dha ni re sa. Re ga ma ga re ni re sa. Did I hear anything from the grapefruit?
Why? You're hearing it now?
नजरिया जादू भरे पिया की नजरिया जादू भरे मोहे लियो मन प्रेम भरे मोहे लियो मन प्रेम भरे पिया की नजरिया जादू भरे पिया की नजरिया सानी दानी रे सानी दा प म ग रे ग म ग रे ग रे नि द ग रे रे सा नि रे ग म ग रे सा नि रे ग म प म ग रे ग म ग रे ग रे नि द ग रे सा पिया की नजरिया Did you like that? Oh my God.
Bet you didn't know a grapefruit can do that.
No, I didn't. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I hope this is just such a, and of course, a cappella. If I had an instrument, I probably would have done it more justice. But, well,
I think you had a very good instrument voice with you. You had a very good partner.
I'll have a tough time eating it now.
But that's the beauty, is that I have heard
She's tried to, yeah, she...
that, well, get this, that when a plant, like when you're destroying a plant, and you'll see this even in that video, that they actually will scream. Everybody knows Mary Youngblood. She's a friend of mine, and I was telling her about this, and I told her, well, you know, she said, oh my God, my friend told me, who lives up in Southern Oregon, was they were trying to save an old growth forest. I don't know if it was redwood or not, but they lost. The lumber mill came and pretty much clear cutted it, and they did have somebody come in and stick microphones in the ground, and it sounded like screams.
Oh.
So they do.
Oh
they do
God,
feel,
yeah.
but at the same time, when you do something, when you're eating its fruit, or you're picking it to cook with and nourish and loving it, it's actually ecstasy for them. So now you can eat your grapefruit.
That's what I'll keep trying to tell them, you know.
So,
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure, and this is such a beautiful topic to, you know, very close to both our hearts.
yes. Well, thank you.
We met as musicians and became great friends,
Yes.
and I think we're going to continue with this. So my husband, who is a scientist, is yet to be convinced. So we're working hard on people at home first. and I must say, all of you are, what should I say, with a way more open mind and more, you know, progressive, and we need people like you to spread the word. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you. So, two small things.
So what I always say,
Mama, can everybody hear that? Here. Can you take this mic?
What I hear from her, yes. So I hear all the story of the grandparents. So one of the story over and over. If somebody bothers the trees at night, that is a no-no. You don't do that. You don't pick up fruit during the night, and you let them sleep and you let them rest. So that's one thing I wanted to share. The other thing about is grapefruit. So we plant those trees, and I'm waiting the first year and the second years and the third years, and then we stand by the trees and we discuss as well. If I don't see anything next year, I'm just cutting them off. And that was for future. Yeah. And that was for few tree. That was the lemon, the grapefruit, and also the avocado at different time. And then so the next year the avocado bring us one little fruit. Hey, I'm here. Don't touch me. And then the next year, 100 and 200 fruits, and so the grapefruit. So I don't know if they hear something, but
Well, she just said it's because she
need
started singing to them.
Sometime.
Yes,
But I'm practicing all the time, so they hear me all the time.
exactly.
Now I feel more encouraged to sit in the backyard and sing.
Yeah, my dog comes and sits right by my feet when I'm playing. Yeah.
I know there's going to be a Q&A, but I'm a little confused if you clarify. Now, was that grapefruit singing with her or having feedback? I don't exactly understand the biofeedback loop.
So everything has vibration, right? This grapefruit is emitting vibration. And this device, this MIDI device, picks up the vibration and puts each frequency into a musical note. And so it was picking its own notes, but then when she was doing different, like, I don't know if you heard it, I don't know how well you're hearing it, but like when she was doing that, like faster, higher pitch, it was doing it too.
So was it singing with her? Or
It was connecting with her. Yes. It was a feedback. They were vibing off of each other. As soon as she touched it, it really started singing. Yeah.
being a scientist, okay, so here is the thought. Because this grapefruit was not singing with her until she
Touched it. Yeah. It sung a little bit, but it was really reacting more to her.
as you say that he's translating the vibration. So is it not possible that it is not the grapefruit's own vibration? It is because when she's singing, the vibration is in the whole body. And when you are touching it, so basically you are transforming the vibration.
No, because I've hooked it up to a lot of different things, and I didn't touch it, and I wasn't even near it, and it would keep going on, and I was like not even part of it. It did sing before she touched it. Yeah. And you have to come to my other programs to see the rest. I'm going to make you wait. So anyway, I know I need to wrap it up here, but yes, Karipata has lots to say. So trying to wrap it up here, right here. Does anybody know where this picture might be? That is actually Lake Tahoe. If you went to Lake Tahoe in the 1860s, there were no trees around the lake. There was silver was discovered, and so there was the Comstock lode, and they whacked down all the trees for the mines and the flumes that they were building. And it actually, this next picture here, you'll see on the left, and that is the picture just a little bit after 1860. You can see there's not a lot of trees on the mountaintops, but that's the same picture. That's Bliss, if you're familiar with D.L. Bliss Park. Obviously there's trees there now. The lake actually turned brown. It was one of the impetus for creating environmental laws. And my point for showing this is that the earth is a very resilient place. We're pretty arrogant to think we can destroy it. But we have choices. I mean, we can destroy ourselves, but we have choices to make everything be in tune with each other. As I said earlier, you talk to elders, indigenous people, all of our ancestors. They'll tell you, how'd you know that plant helped, arthritis? Well, it told me. We all had these abilities. We have somebody here who teaches animal communication. It's nothing special. We all have this ability. We've just been, over time, for various reasons, taught not to be able to. So these are things that we can relearn, and music is actually that bridge to get us back there. And I like this, the Hopi have a good way of summing it up. Techkwai Kachi, I don't know if you've ever heard that. It means walk light and blend with the land. So I know we've kind of probably gone over, but do we have time for some Q&A now? Okay, go for it, before you're told not to.
It's a disembodied grapefruit there, and it was beautiful. If you were to attach your thingy to the tree, would it be different? And are there different areas of the tree that would sound differently, like the leaves or the bark or the roots?
I think you'd have to ask the tree that, and I think it's the tree's mood. And what I was going to mention earlier is when we were in her garden, we did attach it to the tree, and they were really actually hitting each other's pitches. Like she would say something, and would go, and they'd match a pitch. And then a bee flew in between them, and it went, and I had mentioned in earlier times too, is that, in earlier times, in the previous program that I did, was that, and I'll talk about this more on my animal talk the next month, is that birds actually aid forests. Plants have these little mouth-shaped receptors that are all along their cambium layer, which is their vascular system is basically what it is, and it responds to bird songs. Obviously, bug songs too, because I've seen it in videos that, anything actually, we were going like that, just our vibration made them sing. But it helps their circulation. So when there is not, something might wipe out a bird, or, there might be this, episode where we all need white feathered hats, and, so we got to blow up all the egrets, and then, their calls aren't aiding the birds that the trees they've been roosting in. So anyway, yes, everything is connected.
We have time for like 2 more questions.
2 more? Okay.
So obviously every plant has its own unique signature vibration. Have you done an experiment with identical cloned plants to find out if they have similar vibrations to each other?
Well, it's interesting you ask that question, because I did come across a video where they, everything's going to have a different mood. So, I don't know. It depends on its mood that particular time. But I did see one where they had a GMO tomato and an organic tomato, and they looked identical. And they hooked it up. They tested it to see if you can figure out which one's the GMO'd one. And they clicked it on one, and it didn't sing. And 4 minutes, 5 minutes passed by, and it wouldn't do anything. And they clicked it over to the other one, all kinds of stuff to say. And then they were like, okay, well, obviously that's the organic one. But then they clipped it back to the GMO'd one, and it started going bing, bing, ding, 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 And so what they were theorizing or realizing is that, GMO'd plants, just like anything modified, it's like they lose their identity, and it takes them, they need to be retaught that, kind of like where we're at, we're genetically modified if we want to get that deep, but it's taking us time and familiar things from all over to remind us of these things. So, yeah.
Catherine, did you collect these instruments up in your travels? How did you find these beautiful instruments and know so much about them?
Well, about 3/4 of them I've collected in my travels, and then sometimes I've found them here, and then a lot of them have been gifted to me. Yeah. Well, I bought that in Nevada City because it was just too cool looking, not that I needed another didge. But the guy told me a guy in Thailand made these. I actually have another one that looks like a Zulu warrior shield. There's, the Freeport Bakery, the husband's from Germany, and they had to cut down some trees that, they grew up back in Germany, and his brother's a carpenter, a very skilled one, and created this like, I don't even know how to, it's like an oval shape, and it's all wound up inside. People don't even realize what it could do. So I understand we have to wrap it up. So
I'm
going to hand it over to
for like every month for a year.
I'm telling you, there's too much fodder it's hard to focus it and get it down.
Well, when you have 55 minutes to do something, it's not a lot of time. So.
All right. Well, thank you. And I guess, did you have a final thing to say?
I do. First of all, thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
And yes, we're going to, I think you really could do this. You could do this forever. On June 13th, Catherine will be back with Song of the Wild. It's experience the essentially intricate and finely tuned music of the animal kingdom. So we look forward to seeing her then. So now, as we move into our time of our love offering, we know that as we give, we receive, and it is the circle of love and life. So let us join together in saying our blessing. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
Yeah, let's see what Paula's Jade has to say. The orchid you heard in the very beginning. I had a little flute orchid duet. This is the jade plant, Paula's jade plant. It's on its own. I had nothing to do with this one. It's all on its own. Send some love to it and see if it does anything else. You don't need to touch it.
That was cool.
See if you can just all together do it. We all dare together do it. You can do it just with your mind. One, well, no. This one. See if it responds just to everybody. Okay, Mama.
So I think that Catherine, after we do our prayer for protection, Catherine will probably be willing to hang around and let people play the plant for a little while. Okay, so let us all stand and join hands. Join in our prayer for protection together. Let's see how the plant likes being blessed. Okay. Together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, all is well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and may the joys of the world go with you. Good night.